Hello, and thank you for joining us today. Today we will be looking at the message of the Quran itself. This is very important because the Muslim keep saying every day that the Quran was revealed as the final revelation to mankind. It is meant for every human being, mankind, and Muhammad is the messenger and the last prophet. And that the Quran itself was revealed in Arabic language because it is so much rich and so wonderful, the language itself. And that the reason for bringing the Quran at the last stage because the previous scriptures, which include the Torah, the Injil, and the Zabur, are actually corrupted by people. Though it is so striking to see this kind of claim because the Quran earlier on have informed us in chapter 15 verse 9 that Allah had promised to guard all scriptures that he had ever revealed to mankind. So which could have included the Torah, the Injil, and the Zabur and other prophets. But here we are seeing Allah again saying that rather I wouldn't accuse Allah here yet, but rather the Muslims are saying that the previous scriptures have been corrupted. So we want to find out whether did Allah actually say that, or they are the one creating such narrative in order to defend the Quran from its critics. So that is what I want us to look into today, and that will be what we'll be focusing tonight. So please come with me. Let's read the verses by verses in order to understand what Allah is saying and what He wants His people to understand, because it appears that the Muslims have actually misunderstood the Quran message in its entirety, and that is what we want to know. Whether do the Muslims actually understand what the Quran is saying, or they misunderstood that? And if they misunderstood that, how can they be rightly guided in that regard? That is what we'll be focusing today. Thank you for joining us. Kindly watch and read with me on the screen as it is. Verse 36 of Surah 16 of the Quran said, "We surely sent a messenger to every community, saying, worship Allah and shun false God. But some of them we are guided by Allah, while others we are destined to stray. So travel throughout the land and see the fate of the deniers." So Allah is saying here that in every nation and community, Allah himself has sent a messenger. So it is clearly established that no other messenger, no other community or nation or tribe or people that had not received or had a messenger, at least who would warn them and guide them to the path of Allah by telling them to shun other God, avoid partnering God with, or avoid partnering Allah with any other deity, and then shun any kind of act of shirk that will lead to someone being led astray. So that is one. We've just seen that. Now let's go through other verses to see the confirmation of that. Okay, as we go through, chapter 36 verse 2 to 4 also said, "By the Quran, rich in wisdom, you, O Prophet, are truly one of the messengers upon the straight path." So the author here, or the writer, or the reciter here is swearing by the Quran, which is rich in wisdom, that the prophet who is being sent in the Quran, which is Muhammad in this case, are on a true path of what Allah will want them to be. So it's just to emphasize on the previous verse, which gives some kind of assurance that indeed Allah has been consistent in sending his people or his prophet to mankind to ensure that the message is kept without having anything to do with mixing it up or trying to do things that may not things that may temper with the Quran again, like it has did tempered with previous scriptures, because the aim is to ensure that what Allah is revealing now is well guarded. Though previously it appears Allah might have failed to have guarded his scriptures according to the Muslims. No, the Quran didn't say that. Remember, The Quran didn't say that the scriptures of the old or previous scriptures have been corrupted. It never stated that, in those, at least in those words in the Quran. But the Muslims kept saying that the Bible is corrupted, and the Quran came as a corrector or a replacement for that. And that is it. Now, chapter 34, verse 43 to 44 said, when our clear revelations are recited to them, that is to the non-Muslims, then they say, this is only a man who wishes to unhinder you from what your forefathers used to worship. They also say, this Quran is no more than a fabricated lie, and the disbelievers say of the truth when it has come to them, this is nothing but pure magic. They say so even though we had never given them any scriptures to study, nor did we ever send them a warner before, O Prophet. So you see, this verses has a lot to say here. It first of all accuses the reciter of the Quran or the messenger himself for presenting the Quran to people who said, actually, this is a magic, this is a fabricated story. This is not consistent with what they appear to have known, though they, according to this verse, have never received any previous revelation or have never been sent any messenger. So, but they are still able to identify. We don't know what criteria do they use to know whether this Quran received and given to them or recited to them was actually a fabricated lie. Or was it, could that have been a common thing that they used to know lies from the truth? We don't know why they accuse the messenger here for fabricating such story of the Quran. But Allah is saying here, actually, these people are just being maybe stubborn because they have never received any message or any revelation for them to know whether this one is wrong or right. And they shouldn't have done that, but we find them accusing the Prophet and that all what have you. So Allah is saying he has never sent any messenger to them and they have no previous message. So why and how do they know that what was presented to them was actually not exactly what they should have expected? So you see, so this is one of the challenges that Prophet Muhammad faced when he was dealing with people who are of different understanding about God and Allah himself. So as we are going forward, we will be able to understand so many things that the Prophet encountered in his effort to convey the message of Allah as it is. Now, chapter 32, verse 3 said, oh, do they say he has fabricated it? No, it is the truth from your Lord in order for you to warn a people to whom no warner has come before you, so they may be rightly guided. So it is clear here, Allah is defending the Quran, saying that these people who are accusing you, the Prophet, that you fabricated it, they are only doing that because they do not know or understand. But the truth about it is the fact that Allah have sent you as the messenger to go and be a warner to them, because no warner had come to them before. Remember? No warner. So in other words, no prophet had come to these people at this time, because what we have read previously, it was the fact that Allah have sent messengers to all nations and to all community and to all people, except this particular people of Arabia, that's the peninsula, which of course, according to this verse, according to the Quran, is that they have not been previously warned because no messenger have been sent to them. Muhammad happens to be the first messenger sent to that community to receive the message and the guidance of Allah. Yet the community kept refusing and kept arguing with the Prophet, saying that he actually fabricated that. We don't know where they come up with that story, and why should they begin to say he fabricated? Because you can only talk about fabrication if you have the authentic one, if you have the one that you think it is genuine and it is true. So if something came up later that it appears to be inconsistent with what you have as the truth, that is when the issue of fabrication will come up. For example, in the book, in the Bible, we hear when Apostle Paul was saying in Galatians chapter 2, that if anyone, even an angel, that will bring another gospel other than what we have preached, do not accept it, do not believe it, even if himself brings something later. In other words, if he come and teach something different from what has previously been taught, which will make it inconsistent, therefore you should reject it, because that must have come from the pit of hell, not the truth. God's character and part of God's character should be consistency, should be the truth. The truth is consistent, and therefore it makes it reliable. So here, Allah defended the fabrication story of which the messenger of Allah was accused of. And Allah have to keep defending him to ensure that the message is kept. Remember, the aim here is to safeguard the message so that it will not be tampered with like the previous scriptures have been tampered with, because Allah was not happy with what happened for having that tempered. Though, like I said, Allah didn't say that, but the Muslim kept saying that the scriptures, which is the Torah, the Hadith, the Torah and the Injil have been corrupted, like they always say, corrupted. So we are going. Let's keep focusing on this. Let's keep a focus on this. Now, chapter 35, verse 24 of the Quran continue to say that we, Allah, have surely sent you with the truth as a deliverer of good news and a warner. There is no community that has not had a warner. So according to this surah, it is clear Allah is saying that what we have sent you with Muhammad is actually the truth, and we want you to be a warner, to deliver the good news to mankind, to the community of your people. Remember, the Quran was revealed in Arabic. The aim is to speak to the Arabic and to get them understand the message of Allah in their own language. And Muhammad happens to be the Arab man who had to receive the revelation of Allah to deliver it to his people, the Arab-speaking people, as a good tidings or good news deliverer. And that is because there has never been any previous warner who had come to the Arab, who had preached, who had been sent with the good news to preach to the Arab nation. That sometimes is so surprising when we see this, because it's somehow surprising to say, or devastating rather, because we have read so many parts in the Quran where the Quran kept claiming that Ishmael is the descendant or is the patriarch of the Muslim Ummah, and Ishmael is believed to be a prophet who actually lived and was in the Arab nations. So we wonder if he was a prophet who might have had a message to deliver to the people whom he was living with or who he was there with. Could this statement come up to say that there has never been any previous warner? Because Ishmael must have been there to have warned his people, supposedly. And many other prophets who are claimed to be either of Arab descendant or of Arab tribe or nation. But then here we find that, but however, we are actually focused on the fact that our attention is drawn on knowing what the Quran is saying from what the Muslims are claiming today. We just want to get that clearly established. That is the focus of our today's topic. So here, like I said, it has simply confirmed Muhammad to be the deliverer of the good news to a people who have not received or had a previous messenger before. And those people are actually the Arabs, because according to the previous verses and even this one, Muhammad happens to be the first messenger and the last messenger to be sent to the Arab community in order to have their own revelation in their own language. Remember, other people had theirs in their own language and in their own, or from their own people. And that is what Allah has been consistently doing to ensure there is consistency in his effort to save mankind. And that is it. So let's go as we keep going. Let's go. As we go, chapter 14, verse 4 specifically said, we have not sent a messenger except in the language of his people to clarify the message for them. Then Allah leaves whomever He wills to astray and guide whomever He wills. And He is the Almighty, all-wise, and all what have you. So this verse and surah is saying that, look, we have not sent a messenger except in the language of his people. So no messenger has ever been sent. For instance, you cannot send an Englishman to Arab nation. It's not of their language, and he will speak a language that they will not understand. So Allah, in his own wisdom, ensure that he raises prophet or messenger from each tribe and language who will deliver the message to his people. However, when it came to Muhammad, it was actually supposed to be for his own people as it is, because Muhammad is an Arab man and he will receive his message to deliver it to Arab men or to Arab speaking people. However, the Muslims kept telling us, and even the Quran in some places kept insisting, that the message of Muhammad is not just for Arabs, but is for all humanity. Though we have seen the instructions of Allah saying that I have sent other people with their own message and their own prophet. The message is one and the same, but the issue is with the language. So you have to make sure that the message is delivered to the people in their own language. So, and thus, this is actually an issue on itself, because we will now begin to raise questions like, is it true that we have other people, other prophets who actually are of different tribes? Can it be confirmed either by history or any external sources that there are actually, Allah had indeed sent messengers to every tribe and language? Because remember, the verse is saying that the message has to be read, be spoken, be recited in the language of the people. So, and to do that, you have to get a messenger who is of that same language. So Muhammad was an Arab, and he has to communicate his message in Arabic to the Arab-speaking people and to the Arab nations. So it means the message of Muhammad was actually meant for the Arabs. And the message of the Jews was supposed to be meant for the Jews. Now the question will be, why are the Muslims insisting or keep saying that the Quran is for mankind? Because are all human beings Arab-speaking people? Are we all Arabic or Arab? And why should that be? That is one. And then secondly, are there other, historically, are there other nations or other tribes that have prophet of their own language, of their own tribe? We cannot prove, because so far we know all the prophet that we know, at least from the Bible account, the prophet we know are all Jews, are all one and the same tribe, Bani Israel, which means they are the Jews and the Israelites. So we do not know any prophet of the English language. We don't know any prophet of German or French or any Latin language or anything. We don't know any other language that has a prophet other than a Jew. The Bible gives us only the account of the Jews, who are the chosen people by God, which God uses to convey his message to mankind. That was clearly established in the Bible. He said God had to start somewhere by speaking with someone, and the person must belong to one community or one tribe. So, but the aim is to use that community of Jewish by God as an example to mankind in order to extend his message. However, Allah is saying here, he had sent his messengers to all nations, to all communities, to all tribes, to all people. So no other community, no other language, including my own, that have not had a prophet to speak to them. No, my own language, I don't think they had a prophet before Muhammad. I don't think so. But Muhammad is saying that all, according to the Quran here, all other nations have had their prophet, have had their own messenger, have had the good news in their own language. I don't think that can be said of me, because, and many languages as well, because clearly Some of our languages may not have existed before Muhammad, and some do exist today. So if Allah is saying this, then my language is still waiting for their own prophet. And if my tribe is still waiting for their own prophet who will deliver the message in our own language, then it will then mean that Muhammad is not the last messenger. And it will equally mean that the Quran is not meant for mankind. And therefore, that should also be a problem for the Quran and the Muslims as well. However, like we said, we are focusing on if the Muslim really understand the Quran or otherwise, and that is our target today. So we don't want to raise any potential topics that may also draw our attention to some other topics altogether. So our focus is on if the Muslims did understand the Quran as it is, and that's our area of concern today. And I want you to remain focused in order to have this very important understanding today, so as to guide us from the Muslim everyday deception or misleading information to make us believe what the Quran didn't say, and to make us want to accept or swallow anything that the Quran never mentioned. So that is it. Now, chapter 42 of the Quran, verse 7 said, "And so we have revealed to you a Quran in Arabic, so you may warn the mother of cities and everyone around it, and one of the day of gathering, about which there is no doubt, when a Quran will be in paradise, another in the blaze." You see, this verse is simply confirming to us again that the Quran was revealed in Arabic specifically for Muhammad to warn the mother of city. The mother of city refers to Mecca or Saudi Arabia as it is entirely, because it says the mother of city and the surroundings and everyone around. So which means the surrounding of that people. But it must be a people who are of Arabic nation. Remember, it was revealed in Arabic, so it must be delivered to the Arab-speaking people. It cannot be given to non-Arabs. That is our bone of contention. Why are the Muslims then saying that the non-Arabs or those who are of not Arab have to be Islam or have to be Muslims or have to practice Islam? Because this was meant for the Arab people, not for every human being, as it is, as the Quran has said itself, not we assuming that. And that is the fact from what we have seen so far. Now let's go further as we read some verses before we clarify some of the things that we have seen on this verses. So Surah 44 verse 58 equally said, "Indeed, we have made this Quran easy in your own language, O Prophet, so perhaps they will be mindful of that." So the Quran was made in the language of the Prophet, and it is because it is made in the same language of the Prophet, it becomes so easier for the people to understand and read it better. You get what I'm saying? So to understand that, you have to be of the same language so that you'll be able to communicate properly in the language that are of your people, and that will make it easier for anyone who want to understand the Quran within the language. However, those who are not of the same language may suffer a lot, because they'll have a lot to suffer with. Now, it said, "By the clear book, certainly we have made it a Quran in Arabic, so perhaps you will understand. And indeed it is, in the master record with us, highly esteemed, rich in wisdom." So the Quran was specifically just a confirmation. This verse also reaffirmed the fact that it was made in Arabic, and that is aimed to ensure that you understand it, because the people may not understand different language other than Arabic, and that if they do understand Arabic, if the Quran is revealed to them in Arabic, then they will understand it better. And in fact, the Quran is said to have it has its own original copy, or the copy of it is in order of the book with Allah himself. Hallelujah. So that simply means that there should be no any discrepancy. There should be no any mix-up to say that the Quran is mixed up with something else. No. Allah is saying, in fact, this one is just a copy, and the original copy is here with me. And that is it. Now, chapter 26, verse 192 to 196 also said, "This is certainly a revelation from the Lord of all worlds, which the trustworthy spirit Gabriel brought down into your heart of prophet, so that you may be one of the warners in a clear tongue. And it has indeed been foretold in the scriptures of those before. So Allah is saying here, this is a confirmation of what I'm still revealing to you for your people. And in fact, since it's in the original copy with us, in the mother of book, we also have shared the same thing to other nations or to other people in their own language. But this was revealed to you in the language that your people will understand it better, like I've said. And it has been foretold in the scriptures of those before. So, and that is the point. It has been foretold that it's going to happen because all nations have to receive their own scriptures and their own messengers in their own language, and that is just it. So, allowing anybody to mix up, it will not be tolerated by Allah as far as Allah is concerned, and that is it. So now let's go through as we try to round up some verses to see what Allah had finally offered to us in this case. Now, chapter 41, verse 2 to 3 said, "This is a revelation from the most passionate, most merciful. It is a book whose verses are perfectly explained, a Qur'an in Arabic for people who know." So the Qur'an is perfectly explained. Perfect. Remember the word perfect. Perfectly and clearly explained. And that it is in Arabic for people who know. Who know. In other words, it is in Arabic for people who know Arabic. It is for people who know Arabic, not who learn Arabic. No. It is for people who know Arabic language. It is for people who know the Arabic language. It is for people who know the Arabic language. Chapter 46, verse 12 said something very important also in support of what we have just been reading so far to establish the fact of what the Quran did say. And before this Quran, the book of Moses was revealed as a guide and mercy. And this book is a confirmation in the Arabic tongue to warn those who do wrong and as good news to those who do good as well. So chapter 46 of the Quran verse 12 is saying that, look, this exact book or similar revelation was revealed to Moses. And Moses was meant to deliver it to his people, the Jews. So the Jewish people were given a prophet who is called Moses, and that the revelation was meant to guide the people and to make it a message to mankind. And this is a confirmation of that very book that was revealed to Moses in the tongue of Arabic here. So this one is the translated version of the original book given to Moses to his people, which was in the Jewish language, which was in Hebrew. Now the translated one in Arabic is here, given to Muhammad to deliver to his own people, to guide his people from doing wrong to good, majorly to ensure that they worship Allah and abandon other gods. That is the aim. So if any Arab is worshiping any other god other than Allah, then he's simply causing problem, because he do not have any excuse henceforth, because Allah have revealed to them and have given them a messenger who is meant to guide them, to give them a warning of what Allah has in store for those who disbelieve or those who reject Allah for any reason. So Allah is simply telling them that, look, this is it has a previous original copy, and Moses and other prophets has been consistent in delivering their message to their own people in their own language. And that is it. Now, chapter 41, verse 44 said, and if we had made it in a foreign language, in other words, in non-Arabic Quran, they would have said, why are its verses not explained in detail in our own language? It is a foreign language, and an Arab Say it is for those who believe, a guidance and cure, and those who do not believe, in their ears is deafness, and it is upon them blindness. Those are being called from a distant place. So you see, Allah is saying here, look, the people are even challenging or even questioning that should the Quran had been revealed in a different language other than Arabic, then the people would have an excuse to give that, look, this Quran is not in our language. That means it's not meant for us, and we cannot understand it because you cannot speak to us about a message that is not in our language. Remember, God and in Allah has been consistent in delivering the message to every nation and every tribe. And that is why the people here are already protesting to make sure that, look, the Quran must be, as a matter of necessity, Allah must be consistent to fulfill his scriptures and his promises by sending prophet or messengers to people of the language that they belong to, or that they spoke of, that they understand better. And that is what Allah focuses on, trying to make sure that happens. So there will be no mix-up in any form. Now, chapter 6, verse 155 to 157 said, "This is a blessed book we have revealed. So follow it and be mindful of Allah, so you may be shown mercy. You pagans can no longer say scriptures were only revealed to two groups before us, and we were unaware of their teachings. Nor can you say, if only the scriptures had been revealed to us, we would have been better guided than they. Now there has come to you from your Lord a clear proof, a guide and mercy. Who then does more wrong than those who deny Allah's revelation and turn away from them? We will reward those who turn away from our revelation with a dreadful punishment for turning away." Of course, this is very true, because Allah is saying here, now you do not have any excuse, you who are disbelievers or pagans, otherwise called. And that, why? Because you can no longer say that this revelation, we do not have a revelation in our own language, because the Quran has been revealed to you in your own language. That is number one. Number two is that you can no longer say that the scripture was meant for only other two people, which refers to the Christians and the Jews, or the Injil and the Torah. So these two groups have had theirs, and you, the Arabs or the pagans here, you also have your own. So you do not have any excuse to say, no, we do not understand because we do not follow or obey Allah, because we do not have a scripture or a messenger who revealed any message to us in that order. No, Allah has fulfilled his promise by making sure that every nation receive their own scripture and their own messenger from their own language. The scripture is one, the message is one, consistent, which is worship Allah and avoid all other gods, but focus and worship Allah alone. So that is the central message. However, the languages of communication differs. The previous people before Muhammad had theirs, prophet, and their own languages in different form. However, in Muhammad's time, there is a different community, which is the Arab people, and they needed a prophet of their own language who must speak and convey and explain it detailed, the intention of Allah for them in their own language for better understanding. Otherwise, Allah cannot hold them responsible for not being able to follow his instruction, because he must have misled them by bringing a revelation to them with a different language from them. That is what we have to. So all of this we've read so far, it has just confirmed the reason the Quran was written for the Arabs, and it was written and it was revealed rather for the Arab-speaking people, men, because other nations have had theirs. So it is for Arabs, not for mankind, as the Quran has repeatedly said. And then secondly, Muhammad happens to be an Arab man who had to speak the Arabic language for better understanding of the people whom he was sent to. Remember, like I said, every nation had their own prophet and their messenger, and that the messenger of each nation or of each people had to be of the same tribe, who understand the language, because it's so rich in nature that until you understand that, you will not be able to communicate the message properly. The people we are and would have had an excuse if a prophet who is not of their tribe, who is not of their language, come with a message that is to believe God. They will question Allah. Why will you do that? Because we will not understand it. But since they have had their own prophet who is now of their own tribe and speak their own language, clearly explain, it is now clear that this message was from them and it is from Allah, and therefore they should adhere and take heed to it, because Allah have spoken in their own language in their own time. However, this gives us some kind of questions that we don't want to discuss here, like I've asked previously. The Muslims then will no longer claim henceforth that the Qur'an is meant for mankind. From what we've read so far, it's not meant for mankind, it's for the Arab-speaking people, because that is what Allah said. And then secondly, other tribes who have not received their own prophet or their own messenger, because it is not only Jews and Jewish and Arabs that are and that we are created by Allah. Allah should, if He is the creator of everything, then He is one that creates all other languages, including the one I'm speaking now, English and others. So in that case, Englishmen or English people are still waiting for their own prophet in that case, because they have had no prophet who is of English and bring a revelation in English language, so that for the English people to understand it in their own language. And so also other tribes in the whole world. Many other tribes that have not received, even though Allah said in some of the verses here that all nations and people and community have had their own warner and their messenger, giving them the message of Allah. But that happens only at the time and before the time of Muhammad. That's in the past 14 to 15 centuries now. Now, what happened to my own language that already had maybe 200 or 300 years old? What happened to even English is born in less than 1,000 years old? What happened to the French and other languages that we are not in existence at that time? Is Allah still waiting to send messengers for us? Because our people are dying every day. People are perishing, that they need to receive the real message of Allah in the language of the people, that so that they will understand it better, because He did that to the Arabs. And Allah should be consistent in His message and His just kind of nature. So that is what we are raising so many concerns for those of us who are not Arabs, and for those of us who we are not in the time and before the time of Muhammad, for Allah to consider our request and then send us our own prophet, our own warners in our own time, so that we will understand it in our own languages much more better than like the Arabs did. Now, let's look at some verses in the Quran that did mention something very important that I want us to focus on. We see in chapter 5 of the Quran, Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 43, Allah is saying here, because there was an incident here, but let me first read. But why do they come to you for judgment when they already have the Torah containing Allah's judgment? Then they turn away after all. They are not true believers. So Allah is simply warning and rebuking Muhammad. Come on. These people, the Jewish who we are, there was an incident of the Jewish who we are having some misunderstandings about things concerning God. And they come to Muhammad asking him, how do we do this? How can we reconcile this? How can we do this? Asking Muhammad to guide them. Then Allah revealed the saying that, oh, why should you allow them to come to you asking you about things concerning God, concerning Allah? Well, they have the Torah, which has been revealed to them. They have the Torah and they have all the message that have been revealed to them. Why are they now giving or coming to give you so much headache? You have your people to take care of. You have the Arab people to look after. These people are Jewish who already have their own judgment of God, or their own revelation, or their own book, which has explained everything concerning Allah and his judgment. So why are they coming to you again? Please send them back. In other words, send them back. They don't have a reason to be coming to you to give them any guidance. That's also completely not true, not okay, because they are just doing that to play with you. That's wrong. That's what Allah was simply saying here. And then he added in chapter 4, in the next verse, indeed, Allah is continue saying that we reveal the Torah containing guidance and light, by which the prophet who submitted themselves to Allah made judgment for Jews. So too did the rabbis and the scholars judge according to Allah's book, with which they were entrusted and of which they were made keepers. So do not fear the people, fear me, no trade my revelations for a fleeting gain. And those who do not judge by what Allah has revealed to them, truly they are disbelievers. In fact, Allah is simply saying here that warn the Jews to stop coming to you. And if they dare not to judge by the Torah which has been revealed to them, if they dare not use the Torah as a standard to reconcile their things, because the Torah is the word and the revelations of Allah, and therefore if they don't use it as their standard to sort out things, they are now confirmed to be unbelievers, and Allah will not spare them in the day of judgment in that case, because they have to judge according to Allah's book which has been revealed to them. They don't have any excuse, because what they have contains guidance and light towards Allah's path. So they don't have excuse to keep coming to you or to keep asking for so many revelations again and again. And he said, he continued in verse 47 of chapter 5. He said, so let the people of the book, that is the Christians in this case, refer to the gospel. Let the people of the book of the gospel judge by what Allah has revealed in it. And those who do not judge by what Allah has revealed are truly the rebellious people. So Allah is simply saying here, anybody that dare uses the Qur'an as a standard among the Jews and the Christians, any Christian or Jew that tries to use the Qur'an as a standard to reconcile things or to judge things concerning God is completely a disbeliever. He is completely disobeying Allah. And Allah will not spare such a soul for trying to use Qur'an instead of the Torah, because that will mean that you have simply made the Torah and the gospel obsolete. They are revelations for Allah, and Allah took his time to reveal that to mankind, to guide them. Why are you jumping them and then going to the Qur'an? The Qur'an is simply a confirmation, it's not a corrector. The Qur'an is there to confirm what has previously been revealed. Remember, the previous verse confirmed that the Qur'an is here to confirm what has been revealed to mankind, which is in the Torah, the Torah and the gospel. So therefore, there is no excuse for non-Muslims to keep coming to the Qur'an to seek guidance, because the guidance has been revealed to them in their own scriptures. And therefore, any Muslim claiming that the Qur'an is meant for mankind is simply saying what is not in the Qur'an, because the Qur'an said the Qur'an was revealed to the people of Arab, because they had to be given their own scripture in their own language from their own person. And that's why the prophet had to be an Arab speaking person to be able to convey the message of the Qur'an to their own people, like other nations who have had their own. And that is just it. So to clearly even close it up, Allah continued to say that, "O prophet, O people of the book," that's in chapter 5, verse 68. It said, "O people of the book, you have no ground, nothing to stand unless you observe the Torah, the gospel, and what has been revealed to you from your Lord. And your Lord's revelation to you, O prophet, will only cause many of them to increase in weakness and disbelief. So do not grieve for the people who disbelieve." Allah is saying here, the Christians and the Jews who are in custody of the Torah, the Zabur, and the Injil have no ground to stand except they maintain and they retain and they use the gospel as a standard to judge their matters. If they use any other criteria, God or Allah will reject it. And that is it. Allah will not and is not willing to accept any explanation or any kind of guidance or any judgment that is outside the Torah and the Injil that has been revealed to the Jews and the Christians. So Allah have given the Christians their standard way of life, which is in the Injil. The Jews have theirs in the Torah, and the Muslims of the Arab nations have theirs in their own in the Quran. So the Quran is not meant for mankind, and therefore Muslims should understand the Quran is meant for the Arab, and it was given in Arabic, meant to communicate the clear message to the Arab-speaking nations for better understanding, for them to have a clear direction to what God or what Allah wants them to be, to live, and to behave like. And that is the aim of it. So thank you very much for taking your time to watch and to listen to us. We will actually want you to kindly click the subscription button. It is completely free for you to hear and to always have the updated version of our own episode on our daily basis. Share, comment, and do the needful. Thank you very much till we meet again. Bye for now.